Hey everybody, welcome to Hearthcenter. It is finally here. It's the finals week. Everything's final after this week anyway. So it's exciting. I'm excited. I can't even speak right now. I'm so happy to be here. Lotus is with me right now. Lotus, how are you doing tonight?
I'm glad to finally be here, Donde.
Yes, thank you for playing into it. It is.
It's my pleasure.
As always, thank you for coming here, and we will be joined by Mako shortly. He had something pop up the last second that he had to take care of, so he will be here. He has promised. So any deviation from that plan can be, pointed in his direction because we know he's coming, or at least that's what we're told. So, but until then, we've got plenty of stuff to discuss. Lotus and I will be talking about what happened last week in Pro. That's the semifinals. So we'll see the two teams that are going to be our finals participants this week. We're going to talk a little bit about the new cards, our favorite new cards that have come out so far in Skullomance. And then we're going to talk about what path these teams took to get to the finals. So we'll take a look back at the season that was for both, well, I mean, not that it's really like a spoiler in any way, but it's Tap Last and the Unknown. So those are the two teams that are in the finals. So if you haven't checked the website, which is down at the bottom of your screen there, teamheartlegends.com. Sorry for ruining it for you, but they're the two teams that won last week. So we're going to talk about who is going to win this week. Are you excited to go, Lutz?
I'm very excited. I think I have quite a lot for today, and I think it's going to be a fun show.
Yeah, I mean, finals week is always fun. It's it's always the case that every team in every series is going to be disappointed, with the exception of one team and 5 players, maybe a captain. So, that doesn't mean your season was not successful, but the ultimate goal is only there for one team. So we'll see who that will be after this week, and of course, we'll be happy to have at least one member of that team, if not more, join us next week on Hearthcenter, as we usually do. So if you want to be on Hearthcenter, win the finals. That's the easiest way to get here. But for now, let's talk about what happened last week. So I'm going to bring that up on the screen here for you in just a moment. I guess, Lotus, I'll start just by asking you, since you were a semifinals participant who is not going to be a finals participant, how'd you feel about last week?
So I'll start just saying I really don't like playing during Nerf weeks, just because It's really hard to predict the meta, and no one knows what's good, especially because you don't have enough time to prep. That being said, I think Tap Last did an amazing job. They won 16-10, fair and square. I think their very smart move was that both Twos and Lawful Dog went with a super aggro lineup to hit those hunters and druids that a lot of people still thought druid was viable at the time, and just results have been showing that it's not the case anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely taken a hit on ladder, and a lot of people have complained about it. Masters Tour was last weekend, and it wasn't really a high-performing class. It really only has the one archetype, which is the Spell Druid, of any real viability. So yeah, it's if you look at the scores there, of course, Tap Last winning 16-10, as you mentioned. CMAC brought Druid and lost to Farron, who brought Druid, so that's kind of a wash there. But then Twos did defeat you. He had no Druid, and you did. And then Ego got swept, even though Lawful brought the Druid as well. But yeah, like you said, the really aggressive lineups there paid off. And Avi did pick up a win for Bad of the Bone, but it was not enough, as Last Champ also got a win in the 5 over A2 Battleship. So in no way is this a bad season for Bad of the Bone. Definitely a big bounce-back season for you guys after the struggle that you had last season. But Tap Last has just been a consistent team this entire season.
Yeah. I just want to note, one of those 2 Tap Last losses have been to Serenity, which still shocks me, and we'll talk more about that later.
Absolutely. Yeah, there were, not like you see, two losses for Tap Last, and that was not one that you would expect. There was one other somewhat important loss for them, but, they're still in the finals, and every other team except for the Unknown is not. Speaking of the Unknown, I don't think many people would have predicted them beating Wash U. I know Wash U had been sliding back a little bit in recent weeks, but they were still the team to beat going into the playoffs. They were the 1 seed, top point getters, all the best, records other than CMAC, basically at the top of their team. CMAC and Farron were like the two highest records outside of Ron, Mexico, and then everybody on Wash U. And here comes the unknown, swinging into town, winning in 4, 13-7.
Yeah, strong showing for the unknown. Congratulations to Ducharmeau's team. I think the unknown came back as a dark horse. They had a pretty bad season start.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see that they managed to make the finals. The unknown is one of those teams that just has a ton of strong players. I don't think they have one player I would consider weak at all. So it's not surprising to see them here. It's surprising given their start, but it's not surprising to see them here. And I want to see who's going to take it. It's going to be an interesting week. Something that I think contributed to WashU's downfall here is just this was a very weird meta, not as fun as some of the others, and I think a lot of players were burned out.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable assessment, and like you said, WashU came out of the gate strong and just kept up the intensity all season, tailed off a little bit towards the end, but they didn't have to win those last few weeks, and I think sometimes that urgency can be helpful to you as a team. Like the unknown basically have been on playoffs for like 3 weeks now, 4 weeks now, knowing that they absolutely had to win these weeks to make it. So they've been playing high intensity. I'm sure every team in pro preps as hard on any given week, but sitting in the back of your mind sometimes is that thought of, well, I'm going to play my best, I'm going to prep, but if I don't win, no big deal. There's a cushion between us and the next team, or between us and the playoff cutoff, which is sometimes a dangerous mindset. I know, I've been in that situation in Legacy where it was Saturday Night Pain Gang a few seasons ago. There's been a lot of talk about that. Like, I was not happy with some of the ways that other people had prepped in the final week of the regular season because we were pretty much locked in, and then we got blown out, and then lost that exact same team the next week in the playoffs. So I don't like the taking your foot off the gas if you can avoid it, but burnout is a very real concern.
It is. It's a long season, especially Pro and Hero were very long seasons this season. So,
yeah.
Something to be aware of. If you're a captain, always think of what can you do to deal with your team's burnout, because if they're doing well, it could always happen that they just feel tired at the end of the season, and it's a good lesson. As a captain myself, I do not know good ways to deal with it, but always welcome a good discussion.
And I think when it comes down to it, too, you see this in sports all the time where teams do get fatigued as the season will go on, and like certain sports, like football, like American football is 16 games, you play once a week, so the burnout doesn't really happen as much there, other than like on a physical level, because it's a very physical game. But something like soccer or even baseball, for example, 162 games over the course of a season, naturally you're not going to be at your best for every single one of those games. So you do kind of want to reserve some of that strength, especially for a team that is going to be competitive down the stretch run. And not to say that you don't want to give it your best effort every week, but sometimes knowing when to take your foot off the gas is appropriate, but it's a skill to be able to keep the intensity up for the entirety of an entire season in any series in THL. And I think WashU might have, like you said, might have just took their foot off just a little bit and never quite recovered.
Right.
Well, we'll be talking much more about both Tap Last and the Unknown in the latter segments of the show. One of the things we wanted to just give a little quick discussion on was some of the new cards that have come out for Scholomance, which I think there's a couple that I think are really cool right now, and some of the mechanics that they're working, especially with the new dual class cards, is pretty cool. I was kind of hoping Mako would be here because he did contribute to this with his favorite personal card at the moment. But
should I just do a quick Duos plugin before that, so he can arrive on time? Hopefully?
Yeah, let's do that for sure. If we can get him here before we start this next segment.
Sure. So just a quick Duos plugin. So Duos 2 Electric Boogaloo is coming in, and I hope you're all as excited as I am. It's going to be a single-day tourney this time, and it's going to take place Saturday, August 15th. So basically 9 days after the new expansion, we're going to be having Duos 2. Find some player to play with, call your friends, or call someone random on THL if you don't have any friends, but just find someone to play a few games with you. It's a lot of fun. It's a tournament. It's going to be best of 3, so it can fit all in a single day. And it's a good chance for you to practice some of the new games. There are going to be awards, and there's some exciting teams coming in. Ducharmo is pairing up with Ron Mexico. I'm not going to say. Well, I'll hint at mine with a puzzle. So the person I'm being paired with, his name translates to bird in a few languages. So not English, but it translates to bird in other languages. So I'll challenge that to, well, with a minor typo, but that's ignorable. I'll challenge that for if anyone can figure it out.
Yeah, I think the Duos tournament should be fun, and like you said, it's contained all to that one day. It's August 15th, Saturday, yes, starting at 4 p.m. Eastern. So I do apologize if anybody can't make that day in particular, but if you are able to, it should be a lot of fun. Double elimination is what we went with, is that right?
We changed it to
Swiss.
We changed it to Swiss.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I think the discussion was either best of 5 double elimination or best of 3 Swiss. I like Swiss a lot myself, so that is pretty awesome. But it should be fun. As was done before, one person will pilot, both will make the plays. So check it out. There's going to be prizes too. Info's in the Discord. The link to the sign-ups in the Discord in the announcement section. So everyone is welcome to join in. Even if you haven't played in THL before, now's a great time to test out the new set and maybe make some connections. So it should be fun.
Yeah, and if you do well, it's a great chance for you to get to meet new players and possibly join a team if you're looking for one and still haven't found one by then.
Definitely. So that will take place, of course, after the launch of Scholomance Academy, which is on the 4th. And so why don't we talk a little bit about our favorite looking cards so far? And they haven't released too many cards, and I think a lot of them are going to get dumped either early next week, late this week. But for now, we got
They had like 8 or so today, right?
Yeah, and my favorite card actually comes from one of the ones that was released today, and I'll pop that up on screen here. I like Combustion a lot. The mage spell, 3 mana, deal 4 damage to a minion. Any excess damages both neighbors, and I like this because it takes a mechanic that is kind of underutilized, which is board position in Hearthstone, and I think it's a good mechanic to continue to expand on and make it so that there are more things that someone will have to think about on a given turn. Less autopilot play. You always kind of have to be aware of how you're setting things up. There are cards like Betrayal, Explosive Shot that don't really get run main deck very often, but do pop up in random effects. And I think a card like this in Mage, especially in like a Highlander Mage, where you're looking to really have a tool against early aggression, I think this is a good card for that. And I definitely want to see more things that play into the board positioning, because I feel like it's a great way to test skill and still sit there and say, like, listen, this is something that my opponent could have, and I have to play around it. It's not like a random effect or anything. It does exactly what the card says it does, and that is the type of effects that I want to see more of in Hearthstone. So that's why I like this card. I like the design of this card, and I want to see if it is as playable as I think it will be.
Sure. I think Combustion is a really interesting card. It was in my top 4 or so that I thought of bringing today. But then I realized, no, there's one that I like a lot more. But I think Combustion has this really interesting effect that it's going to be... It will make players think a lot more than they usually do about specific plays, because you don't want your 4-2 to just lose a 2-2 and a Battle Fiend if you're a Demon Hunter or something like that. It's just really a ton of damage.
Yeah, I think right now, Rolling Fireball is a card that Yeah, don't put the 1 health minion in the middle. Well, interestingly, Sharma, you say stuff like that, and people will tend to put the weaker minion in the middle against like Rogue because Betrayal. So now this different considerations going into different classes that you're playing against, of course. Like Rolling Fireball is a card that's been played in a lot of almost every Highlander Mage deck this expansion. So now you have to be cognizant of setting your board up to be potentially okay on 5 versus that, while still playing around combustion earlier. So it adds a little bit of tricky maneuvering that you gotta. Yeah, you can't spell combustion without bus. Well, CMAC doesn't like things that aren't warrior cards that control the game, so I can understand why he's not a fan of the card.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like it. So why don't you tell us what card you did pick there, Lotus?
So my card is probably the least flashy card released so far, but I still think it's fantastic design. I have to talk about Animated Broomstick. It's just a 1 mana 1/1 rush that gives your other minions rush. I think this card is really well designed. There's just so much you can do with this effect, and I think this is going to bring a few classes that have been having trouble just back, because it gives them a way to take back that early board. A lot of classes that just play efficient stat-wise minions, like Paladin and Shaman, would love to have this. Just to have a tool that says you can play your efficient minions and then trade however you want with it because you played this 1/1 is going to make Divine Shield a lot stronger, it's going to make Lifesteal a lot stronger, it's going to make Poisonous a lot stronger. I think this card is being severely overestimated by everyone I've talked to. So I actually think this card is going to be fantastic and will be in many aggressive or mid-range decks.
I could definitely see it having applications. I don't know if it will be a card that maybe you want to run more than one of, because it feels pretty bad to be a card that you play on one. It's kind of got that. What's the 1/1 that gives your guy to attack? I forget his name.
Abusive Sergeant.
Yes, Abusive Sergeant. You don't want to play Abusive Sergeant on one, because then you're just completely disregarding the benefit of the card. So I think the same thing with Broomstick. You definitely want to draw into it, maybe in that mid game, like you said, when you got a couple things on board to initiate some extra trades between what you will play from hand that turn and the Broomstick itself. So yeah, I think it'll find its home. Maybe some 1-ofs. I don't know if it'll necessarily be like a 2-of in a lot of decks, but I think it's a cool concept.
I think an interesting deck, and Ducharmo just mentioned this, I think this one in Zoo, if you play it with the new card that destroys your minion and transforms them into 4/4, this becomes really good.
Yeah. It's definitely a thing where Zoo could be coming back with a vengeance next. I mean, it always does in like the first week anyway, so be prepared for your first 10 of your first 20 ladder games to be against massively aggressive decks, because that's what people do on day one of the expansion. However, this one could play a role in the revival of that lasting a little bit longer than just a week. So, Quest Rogue is back. Please don't. No, I don't want to be reminded of that meta.
New Quest is fine.
Yeah, I just don't want to be reminded of the Caverns Below being nerfed 11 times-ish, and then still being playable somehow.
Well, is there Cavern Below in Wild series? Does that ever happen? Do we have one of the Wild players here?
I don't know if anybody actually played it. I didn't remember anyone talking about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was busted when it was playable against like other standard decks, and now, no, Caverns Below is not good in Wild. Yeah, now that it's up against the cream of the crop, overpowered cards, then it's probably not anything to write home about, like Ducharmo said. And Headmaster Kel'Thuzad was the pick that that Mako had made. And I guess one thing I will mention, this was something that I saw that Alec talked about on Twitter yesterday, that the card has to survive in order to get the benefit of the spell burst. So something like Brawl, for example, it needs to win the Brawl for you to revive all those minions that were destroyed. So it's not like it can be sacrificed during the process. It has to be alive for the spell burst to trigger. I think Hat put it said like a wild pyromancer. You got to think of it that way.
I mean, this with Shield Slam or with Shadow Over Death is scary.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see this card being useful. I don't know if it's going to be like top flight. It kind of reminds me of like a similar type of deal to Vargoth, where it'll be played, it'll be in some decks, and the decks that it's in, it'll be I must remove this if I can before the spell burst goes off. But more likely than not, you're probably going to want to play it in conjunction with whatever spell you intend to play it with that same turn, so that way, at that point, it's already got the benefit out of it.
Right. So, I have a question for chat here, if chat wants to participate. Which card do you guys think we're actually missing? Is there an OP card you guys are seeing that we didn't say here? Anything that you think, ooh, you forgot to mention this. This is going to be fantastic.
The one I can picture someone at least is the 4/4 card that we talked about a little bit earlier. Instructor Gandling, I believe it is. That one, yeah, that one is probably going to be a pain to play against when it shows up. Probably.
Yeah.
Conceptually, I like the Druid/Hunter legendary, the 3-drop that lets you copy a beast.
Yeah.
I don't think that we'll ever probably see it doing a whole lot of copying King Crush, but conceptually, funny nonetheless.
Yeah. I think to me, Troublemaker is really interesting. It's just so strong. It reminds me of Priestess of Fury. And I don't like cards that remind me of Priestess of Fury.
Yeah, Priestess of Fury was a very strong card pre-nerf, so yeah, that's a fair take there. CMAC is talking about my trigger word, which is Transfer Student. So, yeah, I don't like that card.
I think I'm fine with that card. I don't see any significant issues.
I just don't like the board coming into play. It just seems like another thing that is random in a game that already has a lot of random effects. It's already a card game, so you draw your cards in a random order. Just feels like the wrong type of RNG. I know a lot of people have said, if you just think of it as like, oh, at the start of the game, it's given, like a 1 in whatever chance to have this effect. It's like, yeah, I know, but like something about the way that they produce it just rubs me wrong. So that's just a personal feeling on it.
I think, to me, I like the idea of there's some skill in the RNG. Like, you need to know what it does in each board if you want to fully play skilled game. So you need to know in this board it's going to be deal 2 damage. It's more work for the players, because now you need to take that into account in the right boards. And some boards you don't need to take into account a 2-mana 2/2 that deals 2. In some boards you need to think of it as a poisonous stealth name. So I kind of like Transfer Student as is. I think the 1-mana 1/4 is insane as well, as Desharmel said. Why is there a 1-mana 1/4 in Priest?
I mean, because Northshire Cleric wasn't good enough? I don't know.
Definitely wasn't good enough. No. Just every single Priest deck other than Red would play it. So I'm a bit afraid of that card.
I think that's reasonable. Yeah, 1-mana 1/4 then Coin Apotheosis is definitely not something I'm looking forward to. Unless I'm the one doing it, in which case I'm very much looking forward to it, because that's great.
Mm-hmm. I think Bree still has the issue of you don't have great tools to win the game, but you have tools to play mid-range early on, and I wonder if we're going to finally see mid-range or tempo Priest come up, maybe with Broomstick in it, and just the new card that keeps summoning 4/4s and some of the good body cards.
So, oh well. But, yeah, it should be interesting. Obviously, we're going to see a lot more cards in the next week and a half. So if you are, on the fence, obviously pre-order sooner than later. Definitely try to jump in on the Twitter giveaways and see if you can spike one of those, and just be ready for the next season of THL, because there's going to be more time between this expansion releasing and THL starting than usual. So we should have a pretty, I wouldn't say completely settled meta, but at least more ideas of what will constitute a working Conquest or Last Hero Standing lineup by the time we get into the season.
Yeah, we have only 2 seasons and a half before it begins, so that's interesting.
Well, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves talking about next season when this one isn't over yet, because we have one final match, and that is, of course, as we spoiled earlier, Tablas versus the Unknown in the finals. But before we talk about that match itself, let's talk about how they got there in the first place. So let's bring up their schedule, and if you'll see Tablas on the left, the Unknown on the right. So what I would describe here is the difference between a team that was massively consistent in Tablas versus a team that was wildly streaky in the Unknown. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they are a bad team compared to Tablas. It just means I wonder if the Unknown are still going to be hot going into this final week. So if you look at Tablas, there are only 2 losses this season, Serenity in week 1 and Aeon in week 7. But every week that they won, they were scoring 14, 15, 16 points. Just very consistent, especially those last 5 weeks there, including the playoffs. Just consistent scoring out of Tablas every week.
Right. It's been a strong showing for Tablas. They only lost to Aeon, who I still don't get how they're not even in top 4. But
yeah, me either.
Aeon and Serenity, like, who no one knows how they lost to, but those were their only losses, and they have very regular and consistent wins. Versus the Unknown, they were a strong team. They had a big streak in the middle where they beat some pretty good teams, but they were just consistently making wide margins. Like, they beat Due Process 20-4.
Oh yeah, they were crushing.
10. Yeah.
What's interesting too is, like, if you look at those first 3 weeks for the Unknown, you know, they dropped 3 of those first 4, and one of those was to Tablas, 7-17. So not good showings there. Everyday with Trifling was a close match, and then Wash U was another blowout in that first week of the season. So interestingly enough, both of these teams started 0-1 and are, you know, going to make the finals. So that's completely fine. But the 4 teams that the Unknown lost to were all very good teams. Like, they didn't lose to any teams that were near the bottom of the standing. So any team that they should have beat, not only did they beat, they came out and they absolutely rocked in most cases. For the Boys being the exception there, I think For the Boys were a lot stronger team than most people would be led to believe just looking at the standings. So 15-12 makes a lot of sense there. But yeah, you'll notice the one commonality between these two was Aeon, who didn't make the playoffs, and now I'm sad all over again. I didn't realize that until I was doing this graphic, that we were the only one to beat both these teams. So I guess there's that at least, but yeah.
Well, is Aeon at least going to come back next season, hopefully, to try it again?
Well, sure. I don't know exactly what the roster will be, but Aeon will be back in some form next season to try and reclaim our place in, at least in the playoffs. So I know we can.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I like seeing the kind of the paths that each of these teams took. You know, obviously the schedule is identical, other than the weeks in which the teams were played. But that is, you know, it's always interesting to see, like, did you catch a team at their peak, or did you catch them at the right time during the season? So, like, looking at Tablas, you know, they played Unknown in that early stretch of the season when Unknown was struggling hard. But maybe if they had played week 9 instead, when the Unknown all of a sudden started putting it together, that could have changed completely. So Tablas and the Unknown will be a great match. I think it'll be much closer to that 17-7 that you saw there back in week 4. But who's to say who will be the champions that we will crown next week? Well, we're to say, because we're going to go ahead and make our predictions now on on this finals match.
Yeah, this sounds like prime time to make the predictions. But before that, did you know that you can sub for free using Twitch Prime if you have Amazon Prime? You can use that to just help THL and all their events, such as the Duos Tourney and many others. So if you want to sub, it's welcome, and it will help keep things going.
Yeah, as always, we greatly appreciate anybody who is willing to subscribe to the channel, and also make sure to turn on follow and get the alerts, so you know we're going live. If you're not in the Discord for whatever reason, you'll get those alerts there too. But you know, it's always fun to subscribe because you love us, right? Please subscribe here tonight. Anyway, let's talk about what we've been talking about, which is the finals. This is a hype match, as they always are in the finals, but I think it's interesting how every single matchup across the board is like an identical record with the exception of Typhoon versus Brushy Tuna, and that's only because Brushy Tuna played one more week than Typhoon. I mean, I guess maybe Typhoon went 6-5, who's to say. Actually, Desharmo's played one game less than the last champ as well. So, all things considered, though, if you just are going to try to decide this based on the records, you can throw that right out the window because they're essentially even. So Lotus, I'm going to start with you and let you tell me game by game what you think the result's going to be.
Okay, I've been waiting the whole night for this, so let's do it. I think this is going to be a really close match, but I'm going to go bottom up. Typhoon versus Brushy Tuna is a really exciting match. I think this is going to be tight like all the others, but I think this one is going to go to Typhoon. I think he's going to win. I think Last Champ versus Desharmo will depend on whether Last Champ wants to bring something tricky to try to catch Desharmo or not, and I think that will be an interesting move. That being said, I think Desharmo has it. Lawful Dog versus Catman probably goes to Lawful. He's been having a killer season, and I think, again, super balanced match, but I think it's going to go for him. And Twos versus Solo Jazz, I can't bet against Twos, and I think it all goes down to C-Mac versus Ron Mexico. And Ron Mexico has the momentum, so I'm going to give it to him. I think the unknown wins 3-2.
All right. So before I give my predictions, just as a general content plug, we are going to have C-Mac versus Ron Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. So that's going to be our leading match. Hopefully we can get another match behind it scheduled as well, if not from the Hero Finals. And as far as I know, Brushy Tuna and Typhoon are playing at 8 p.m. on Sunday. So right now, I don't know about the middle three matches. Hopefully we can get those on stream. It doesn't necessarily have to be the exact times we typically stream, but we will do our best to accommodate. I know you have a Schoolstone match as well. Is that right, Lotus? I think it's from Hero, though, right?
Yep, we have Basing versus NHL and JFan.
Awesome.
Should be super exciting.
That is an awesome match, yes. So here is my professional prediction on who I think is going to win the finals. And I'm going to go so specific, I'm going to give you game score. I'm going to go all the way. So, C-Mac lost last week for the second time this season. Ron Mexico's only lost twice this season. I'm not going to buy into the loss being an effect on the finals for C-Mac, and I think he's going to win. It's going to be close. It'll be 3-2. I got C-Mac over Ron Mexico 3-2. I'm going to flip that for match 2. Solo Jazz will get a 3-2 win over Twos. It'll be close. They're both doing well. I think Solo Jazz will just barely get there. So we're tied right now at 6-6 through the first 2 games. This is where I think we get some separation. I'm going to call a Lawful Dog sweep over Catman. This is the big one. I think Lawful Dog, for some reason, he shows up in the playoffs. I don't care what his record is. He plays so well when the pressure's on. Catman, good player as well, but Lawful Dog's got it working. I'm taking Lawful in a sweep, but Bisharmo is going to beat the last champ 3-1 to keep the series close, going into Typhoon versus Brushy Tuna on Sunday. So I fully believe that unless a match from this is happening after Typhoon and Brushy Tuna on Sunday, that will be the deciding match. And I think Typhoon takes it 3-1 over Brushy Tuna. So I'm calling a 3-2 win for Tap Last with a total of, let's see, that's 12, 14, 15 to 13. 15 to 11, because math is hard. I counted the 3 twice. 15 to 11. So 15 to 11 Tap Last. It's going to be tight. It's definitely going to be exciting. Every match will be fun to watch, and I hope we get to watch them all, because there's nothing better, in my eyes, than open list conquest tournaments. I love seeing players who know exactly what's in their opponent's list, seeing people play around everything. For me, it feels like, and I appreciate the fact that this is our pro series, it feels like the pinnacle as far as skilled play is concerned, because yes, there are random effects, but you know the 30 cards that you're playing against at this time, and that really lets you plan ahead, and I think that lets the best players shine. So this should be a good one, and I do apologize to the unknown, because you've had a fantastic season and you've caught fire, but I'm going with the team that has been the most consistent this entire season outside of Wash U, who's no longer around. It's Tap Last is your champions. So, as you can see, Mako never made it. So, I mean, I apologize, because the show would have been slightly longer with him going off on tangents all the time. But
we can do chat questions if anyone has any.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me think. Try to think of something. So, I have a question for Donde.
All right, I have an answer for you.
Here's an interesting one for you. What has been your most interesting or most fun content you've ever done? Single episode.
Oh, jeez. Man, there's so many. Does this include matches as well, or just shows?
Anything. Any content you've done.
I mean, getting to stream Rami 2 weeks ago was pretty awesome. Just the fact that I now have the ability to say I have streamed a GM and broadcast their match, that's pretty cool, just to have that. I would say that match-wise was exciting. The watching Anfall get destroyed by the Pyroblast puzzle box was exciting for a completely different set of reasons. So those were probably two of the more exciting matches. that hurt directly. Like I felt the Pyroblast hit my soul when that happened. That was not great. But as far as shows are concerned, the award show from last season was a lot of fun, especially with R-Hat being a jerk and surprising me with the Hall of Fame induction that I did not see coming. So that was cool. Let's see. He was on Hearthcenter once too. That was a good episode. We had a lot.
The Hall of Fame was with us. Hall of Fame was on one of our normal shows.
No. We've had a lot of good Hearthcenter shows. It's a lot of fun to do kind of the ones that deviate from our normal structure. But we want to keep consistent when we can, so that people know what they're getting out of the show. But anytime there's other things that we can discuss, I think it's always fun for us to delve into those topics as it relates to THL. So yeah, a lot of different shows. I guess I'll ask you the same question. Which one has been your favorite show, Lotus?
Interesting. There were a few that I really liked. Honestly, one that was a lot of fun for me to do. So the funniest moment I ever had was on Schoolstone. We had this one episode, and I don't know who remembers this one. I'm sure Base does, because it was hilarious. Where Quirky Turtle sacrificed her whole board just so all the bombs that she generated would go face. And that was so awesome. We were laughing so hard, because it was kind of amazing how much she killed for it. And she just went with yes, I'm going to do this for stream. And we were all so happy with that move. It was just hilarious.
That is fun.
That was a very good one. I think, honestly, I liked some of the special segments we did a lot. They're just fun to do. I really like special segments whenever we can get a different one or a creative idea.
Yeah. We'll have to try and incorporate more of those back into the show next season as well, especially if there's if there's something that pops up, that's worth talking about. Obviously, that's ideally something fun to talk about, not something that's a downer. But yeah, we'll try to incorporate more of that, I think, back into the lineup next season. Diamond is firing off questions. He can hop in. Well, I don't want to screw up the stream right now, but thank you for your offer. But what was your favorite match in Pro? So, Lotus, I'll let you take that one first. I already know my answer, but...
Of the ones I played, it was... I don't actually know.
Do you want me to answer first?
Favorite. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I have two from this season. One was Brushy Tuna, who is one of my favorite people in THL, period. And the whole time we played, we were just talking the whole time and giving each other crap, and that was just fun. So there's nothing more fun than someone that you definitely connect with and play a match against and know that you're obviously both trying to win, but like it keeps the whole thing lighthearted, and that's kind of what I think THL is all about, is being competitive, but being competitive the right way. But the match that I got to play against Heat Shock, especially because that was on stream too, that was Hero, wasn't it? Wasn't Pro. Never mind. So it doesn't count. I answered Diamond's question first with Brushy, and I'm going to stick with that one.
I'm going to say for me, it was actually my first time on stream. It's a Hero match, or a Legacy match, which was me versus Base. And I might have high rolled a bit, and I might have teched my decks way too well for the matchups that I got. But that being said, it was just a really good match, and we had a really fun time talking on voice chat while we were playing.
Yeah, I think, like I said, the same kind of concept for me and Brushy there. We weren't in voice, but we were talking. It's nice. I mean, I don't expect that to be the norm, and I don't expect everyone to want to do that, but to know that, there's not going to be any sort of like salt afterward. I mean, there might be salt, but it would be playful. But that to me is the best. I mean, other than obviously winning is a great feeling, and winning a championship is a great feeling, and having my cat jump on my chair and scare the crap out of me just now is a great feeling. But it's it's taken a little bit week by week, and even if you don't win your match, just having fun with your opponent's good. What teams or players surprised you, Lotus?
What teams of voice? Well, Washu for the beginning. I did not know who they were, and they did so well really fast. Due Process's really hot start surprised me because I didn't think they were that strong of a team. Even though I really like them, I think they have great people in that team. So those were some big surprises for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think like when you're taking the whole season into account, I guess the team that probably surprised me the most on like other than WashU, I mean WashU is an easy answer because they were brand new and no one knew anything about them, and here they are just rocking the series for the entirety of the season. But I would say Stay the Blaze is home. They were a consistently strong team from beginning to end, and despite the fact that they were projected to finish kind of low, and they finished 8th, which isn't a playoff team, but I felt like they were impactful every week that they played. And even if they weren't alive going into the final week of the season, they still felt like they were one of those teams that you could not sleep on, and you'd have to bring your best match in order to do well, because they were capable of beating anybody. And so I would say that as a team, that Stay the Blaze's home probably surprised me the most, pleasantly, of course. And I would be super excited to see what they do next season as far as players are concerned. I mean, there's a lot of really, really good players in Pro, so it's kind of hard to say that you're ever truly surprised by somebody doing so well in Pro Series. Just kind of looking through the pro stats now to see if there's anybody that really jumps out. I mean, obviously Farron is one that I didn't know anything about. Still, really, honestly, don't know very much about. And he was one of the best 1 seeds in the entire series, 9-3. So I would say probably Farron.
Yeah, I don't know much about him, and we played in the same team, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a lot of the other names, like they're names that people know about at the top of the list there. You know, like C-Mac has been around for quite some time now. Everyone was very familiar with Heat Shock, so that's not new. He finished 8-4 there. Ron Mexico obviously has had several good seasons. Based has had great seasons. So yeah, a lot of players that we knew about. But yeah, that Farron was one I did not know about, and I definitely know about Farron now. Farron is a legend grinder. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are legend grinders. Let's see. We have not decided who won the Rivals thing yet, so we'll have to get back to you on that next week. And we will have an answer for who will be able to join us at some point next season at Hearthcenter. I am definitely hyped for Pro next season. I think the series is only getting better and better as we... Yeah, that was last week that we did that segment. I feel like the series is only getting better and better, more and more competitive. It kind of feels closer to Hero in that regard than it does to Legacy, even though Legacy's Conquest. It feels like the teams are so stacked. Every single team has the capability of winning every single week that it's mentally it's somewhat exhausting, because if you don't do a good job prepping on any given week, you're probably just going to lose. That's the way it is. But I think that's why it's Pro. That's why it's there. So it's good. I wouldn't want to change it. I wouldn't want to change Pro at all.
Mm-hmm. How are captain signups? Do we have any numbers so far? Just since we have time, might as well advertise it.
I think we had an odd number which we were trying to work out, as far as I know. So I'd have to ask Baco, who's not here right now because he's the one who was last checking up on the sheet. So obviously we don't want to announce anything captain-wise until next week, because Pro is not over yet. So that's fine. If there's a few stragglers or anything that want to submit, it's not too late. So if you do want to submit a Pro application, please do, because we'll review it and hopefully accept you if you do a good job with the app. So that's great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So doesn't look like Baco's going to make it. So sorry, everybody. We were gonna make him mad with our alternate Spanish pronunciations for things today, which is always fun.
Yeah.
But he didn't get here, so we're sorry.
Yeah. Don't forget to sign up to Duos Número Dos.
Duos.
Duodos is happening, and it's going to be fun. It's a single day now, and it's going to be relatively close to the expansion, so you can just bring your old decks and win. Nah, I'm just joking. You can figure some new decks out.
That should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to participating in that one, since I didn't get a chance to do so the first time around, and
yeah,
might as well win.
Are we going to see Donde and Coles?
We are going to see Donde and Coles. I knew I was going to do it. I didn't know if Coles was going to be able to do it, and he confirmed today that he is able to do it that day. So I was going to pair up with Markshire if Coles did not do it, but Markshire's out there, free agent. So hit him up if you want to do his partner if he hasn't found one yet. So,
oh, that sounds like a really hot duo.
It's only the hottest, and the best part is the 4 p.m. start time means I'll still be working during the first match, so I'm going to be letting him pilot and commentating stuff to do while also working. So I'm going to be paid to play in the Duos tournament effectively.
Nice.
So that should only be like one round though, but that should be funny anyway. So, all right. Anything else you want to say before we head out for the night, Lotus?
I want to wish good luck to both Tap Blast and the Unknown. I hope you guys have really hot matches and just make this an end of season we all remember in the future. And yeah, well, since season is almost over, good luck to the players. And I hope you all sign up to Duos. And see you all later.
Yeah, see everybody later. Good luck to Tap Blast. Good luck to the Unknown. We will see you here next week with whoever is the winner. And we will be here on Saturday, as I mentioned, with CMAC versus Raw in Mexico, Typhoon versus Brushes on Sunday, and hopefully we can get the rest of these matches scheduled as well and on screen, so that way everyone can see, all the hot THL action. That being said, make sure to tune in tomorrow night for Tavern Talk, which is going to be the this is the finals celebration for HSA. Hooray, HSA. Again, this is something that Mako could have said, on stream, but he's not here. So, Twos is playing Thursday at 9, Twos versus Solo Jazz. I'll talk to you after CMAC about that and see if we can get them on stream. See if that's something that Tavern Talk can work out after their match, or after their show tomorrow. So, that would be awesome. But, as far as we're concerned, we are out of here, and we will be back next week with our final Hearthcenter of the season. Good luck again to Tap Blast, the Unknown, and our Heroes finalists as well, or our Hero finalists as well, yes. And we will see you later.
See y'all.